Hello everyone, wishing you all good health and peace in life. Today, we share a story that feels like a gentle sunrise after a long night of rain. One family, one dream. Huyen and little Maya find peace after the storm of life. They have walked through loss, uncertainty, and the weight of countless silent battles. But now, in the quiet of their new home, laughter returns, warmth fills the air, and hope grows like flowers after the rain. This is not just the end of hardship, it is the beginning of a life they once only dared to dream of. The morning sun rose gently over the quiet countryside, painting the sky with soft shades of gold and rose. The air smelled of fresh earth after last night's rain, and somewhere in the distance, a rooster's call echoed. Life here moved slowly, like a song without hurry, yet filled with meaning. In a small wooden house at the edge of the village, 3 people sat together by the doorway, sipping warm tea. It had been a long journey to this place, not just across roads and rivers, but through years of hardship, loss, and silent battles. They had once lived in the noise and chaos of a world that showed little kindness. But storms, no matter how fierce, always pass. The man, carried quiet strength in his eyes. His hands were rough from years of work, yet they held a gentleness that made people trust him. Beside him, Huyen, a woman who had faced more than her share of pain, now smiled in a way that reached her eyes. And between them sat Maya, their little girl, humming a tune to herself as she played with a piece of red ribbon. Her laughter was the purest sound in the morning air. Their new life was not rich in money, but it was rich in the things they had once prayed for: safety, warmth, and the freedom to dream again. They planted vegetables in the small garden, cooked meals over a wood fire, and told stories under the stars. Every simple act carried the quiet joy of survival and the sweetness of beginning again. When Maya started school, and Huyen watched from the gate, their hands unconsciously touching as they waved. To others, it was just a child walking into a classroom. But to them, it was proof that the past had not broken them, that love and resilience could turn even the harshest storms into gentle rain. The days in the village began to form a gentle rhythm, like the slow sway of bamboo leaves in the wind. Morning light would spill into their small home, painting everything in warm gold. Maya's laughter was the first sound to break the silence, followed by the faint crackle of firewood as breakfast was prepared. Life here was far from easy, yet it was free of the shadows that had once haunted them. Would wake early to tend to the small vegetable garden, his hands steady and patient. While Huyen prepared rice and tea, Maya often ran between them, sometimes helping, sometimes chasing butterflies. One evening, as the sun dipped low and the air turned cool, they sat outside together, watching the horizon glow in soft orange. Huyen, her voice low but steady, spoke of her wish to see Maya in a clean white school uniform one day, walking proudly to class with books in her arms. Listened quietly, his eyes reflecting the same hope. The storms they had faced, betrayal, loss, and fear, had left deep marks. But here, they found something even stronger, a shared dream that bound them together like family, even without blood ties. In this small home, surrounded by fields and sky, they were learning that peace was not the absence of hardship, but the presence of love, understanding, and the courage to keep going. That night, as Maya fell asleep between them, Huyen glanced at There were no words, only a look that said everything. We made it through. And in that quiet, the promise of their shared dream felt more real than ever. The days in the village slowly began to weave themselves into a gentle rhythm. Morning sunlight streamed through the bamboo shutters, casting golden stripes across the wooden floor. The scent of boiling sweet potatoes filled the small kitchen, mingling with the faint fragrance of wild jasmine carried by the breeze. Maya's laughter often broke the silence of the early hours, a sound so pure it felt like the sky itself was smiling. She would run barefoot across the yard, chasing the chickens, or helping gather vegetables from the garden. Each time, her small hands came back muddy, but her eyes shone with pride. Dee spent most mornings repairing tools for the neighbors or tending to the vegetable beds. His back ached from years of labor, yet every swing of the hoe felt lighter now, perhaps because he was no longer working for survival alone, but for a home where love had finally taken root. Huyen, meanwhile, had found comfort in the slow, steady tasks of rural life. She mended clothes by the window, her quiet hum blending with the rustle of leaves outside. Though the scars of her past were still etched deep inside, the peace of the countryside was teaching her something precious. Not all days had to be a fight. In the evenings, the three of them would gather under the old guava tree, sharing a simple meal. Sometimes, Dee would tell stories about the stars, pointing out constellations to Maya, who listened with wide-eyed wonder. Other times, the night would pass in silence, with only the sounds of crickets and the gentle flicker of the oil lamp between them. It wasn't a perfect life. There were still bills to pay, fields to tend, and worries that sometimes crept in with the night. But there was also something far more powerful than fear or hardship, a shared dream. A dream of watching Maya grow, learn, and live a life untouched by the storms her parents had endured. And so, under the quiet roof of their small home, three hearts beat in harmony, bound by the unspoken promise that whatever came next, they would face it together. The next morning, the air was fresh with the scent of wet earth after a light rain. A thin mist curled above the hills, making the village look like it was wrapped in a soft, white blanket. Birds sang from the bamboo groves, and the sound of a rooster's crow echoed from a nearby house. Dee stepped outside, a small basket in his hand, ready to check the vegetable patch they had planted weeks ago. The first green shoots were now strong, their leaves opening to the sun. He smiled, thinking about how this little garden would soon feed the three of them. Inside the house, Huyen was sweeping the floor while Maya sat at the wooden table, drawing with her colored pencils. The picture was of a small home with smoke curling from the chimney, flowers in the yard, and three smiling figures holding hands. Huyen stopped for a moment, watching her daughter's focus. That picture was more than a drawing. It was Maya's dream of their life now. After breakfast, they decided to visit the nearby stream. Maya skipped along the path, her laughter mixing with the sound of rushing water. At the stream, Dee rolled up his trousers and helped Maya catch small fish in a bamboo basket. Huyen sat on a flat rock, dipping her feet into the cool water, letting the gentle current carry away her tired thoughts. It was a simple day, yet every moment felt precious. No more rushing, no more hiding, no more fear. The storm of life had passed, and in its place, a quiet peace had taken root. That night, as they sat together by the small fire in their yard, the stars glittered above like blessings from the sky. Dee spoke softly, "We may not have much, but we have this, and that's enough for me." Huyen nodded, her eyes warm, and Maya leaned against them both. The fire crackled. The night air was cool, and their hearts were finally calm. "If you want, I can continue the next part." With a small twist, someone from their past arriving unexpectedly in the village. that would make the story more emotional. Life often tests us with storms that seem endless: loss, betrayal, hardship, and uncertainty. But as the story of Huyen and Maya shows, the greatest victories are not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they are found in the quiet moments when we choose to keep going, even when the road ahead is unclear. Dee's strength was not in grand speeches or material wealth, but in his unwavering presence. Huyen's courage was not in fighting battles with force, but in protecting Maya with love and patience. And Maya's innocence reminded them that joy can still bloom, even in the smallest of gardens. Together, they built a life not from what they had lost, but from what they still had: each other. The truth is, peace does not come from escaping storms. It comes from learning to stand in the rain and still see the beauty in the world. Love is not just a feeling, it is an action, shown in the way we care for each other through both light and darkness. If we can hold on to hope when everything else seems broken, if we can protect the ones we love even when we are afraid, and if we can choose kindness over bitterness, then we will always find our way to peace. Just as Huyen and Maya discovered, family is not just blood, it is the shelter that stands when the storm has passed. Life is not measured by the number of storms we face, but by the courage with which we walk through them. The story of Huyen and Maya is a reminder that no matter how dark the sky may seem, the dawn will always come for those who refuse to give up. They did not find happiness because life suddenly became easy. They found it because they chose to hold on to each other when everything else fell apart. The world may take away our possessions, our comfort, and even our sense of security, but it cannot take away the strength that comes from love, trust, and shared dreams. For some, success is measured in wealth or fame, but for this little family, success was measured in the sound of Maya's laughter, the warmth of a simple home, and the quiet knowledge that they had survived together. They learned that peace is not found in avoiding hardship, but in facing it with an open heart. If there is one message their journey leaves behind, it is this: your dream is worth holding on to, no matter how small it may seem, if it is built on love. And in the end, the greatest victory is not reaching a distant goal, but learning to live each day with gratitude, knowing that the storm has passed and you are still standing together. In a world that often celebrates speed, noise, and grand achievements, there is a different kind of victory, one that grows in silence, nurtured by love, patience, and the courage to keep going. The story of Huyen and Maya reminds us that peace is not something we find by running faster or reaching higher. It is something we build, day by day, in the quiet choices we make. When life pushed them to the edge, they did not let bitterness consume them. They chose to keep loving, to keep protecting each other, and to keep believing that tomorrow could be better. Sometimes, the greatest battles we fight are invisible, the ones inside our hearts. It takes strength to forgive, to let go of the past, and to begin again. It takes even greater strength to do it with kindness. The storm in their lives was real poverty, heartbreak, and fear, but they learned that storms do not last forever. And when the sky finally cleared, what mattered most was not what they had lost, but what they had kept: their love, their dignity, and their shared dream for a better life. We, too, have storms, and when they come, may we remember their story. May we hold on to the people we love, keep faith in the goodness still left in the world, and build our own quiet victories, one act of patience, one act of kindness, one act of love at a time.